Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Resellers Roundtable. Coming live to you from Texas. This is Brian, YouTube
I'm,
channel Texas Treasures.
and I'm Alton.
And I'm Scott.
That's Addicted to Hustle and Dumpster Diver Dad on YouTube. If you're
Too sure don't know us by now.
Yeah, you should know us by now. If we got new listeners. I see in the chat, we have Clay and Tri Flippers. What's going on, guys? Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you.
Yes.
And if y'all have any questions or comments related to tonight's topic, be sure to throw them into the chat. Tonight, we're talking about categories on eBay. In which categories do you think it is best to sell in? We're each going to talk a little bit about this. So we'll go ahead and get started with Alton. What are your thoughts on eBay categories?
Well, I think to figure out best in your area, you first kind of got to know the platform in which people are buying, right? So for me, the basic search shows you the number one category would be automotive. Right now, with the current state of the market, and this is one of the things of the market changes constantly. Right now, used cars market is outrageous, right? So car parts, accessories, even motorcycles and motorcycle parts, because those are better economical modes of transportation, those values have gone through the roof. So that might be something if you have access to like car parts or mechanics, garage tools even to service those equipment, that could be a good one. But for me, I like selling in collectibles, and that being like Funko Pops and stuff. And that is actually listed as the top 6. It was number 6 category on eBay right now. And I think a lot of it has to do with different collectors and growing of applications that are making it more accessible for people to find unique collectibles that they wouldn't necessarily know they wanted. But believe it or not, in collectibles, any of y'all want to guess what the most purchased or collectible item within collectibles is right now on eBay?
I was thinking like Coca-Cola or something like that, something that has a name brand or a recognition.
Pokemon.
You're close. Pokemon. Okay, so believe it or not, I actually thought it would be something collectible like what Scott said with the old school like collectible Coca-Cola pins, right? Or old vintage signing. Believe it or not, it is World War II military items. So they're bringing the top dollar as far as the amount of sales that are going through. I don't know if that's nostalgia, saving the history. There's something going on there. But I thought it was a unique way of looking at it. So what you do is what your market is. You're like, hey, I might want to do collectibles. This gives you a tool that says, be on the lookout for these items. So if we want to talk about the best categories, I think you need to look at what's successful in your area and compare it to what the actual sales list is on eBay. And the last one for me, I would tell you, is action figures, which is in the number 9 under basic toys. Action figures is what I like doing on Whatnot app. And that can also kind of float a little bit with the Funko Pops, but we're going to be doing another action figure lot and things like this right here. I'll show you one real quick, guys. Like this right here. I won this at auction for like $10, but it's like a $60 item and my camera will not focus. There it goes. So these are items that are really good for reflipping and understanding what the market is. That's a $40 to $60 item easy. Paying less than $15 for it is a great way to do it. So I think for me, that's the main categories that are easy for me to get into without spending a lot of money. And I think it's like your toys and collectibles. So what about you, Scott?
I have a question real quick before we get into my categories. What made you choose that category? Did you have a history with it? Did you grow up with it in childhood, or did you pick it because of the sell-through rate?
Well, more of it was I knew it growing up. So like we all have that one thing, and I'll even refer back even to like video games. We have the games that we grew up playing, and they always say that when you get into your mid-20s, like that, there's something about mid to late 20s and even early 30s, as we start making the money to live, we start buying back our childhood, the nostalgia. And those are items that are right now hot and commodity. And I'm in my mid-30s, so like I'm almost to the end of that trend of what I grew up with. So I'm riding that train out as long as possible. until I can move to the next item. So I grew up in the collectibles and even the trading card market and things like that. So it just makes it really a definite way of doing it. And I think Brian just put in our chat, the best way to do it, he says, is an emotional connection. I think that's the best way to look at that. And I think people buy more on emotion than they do on reality. So if they go, I got to have that, that reminded me of this, they're willing to pay top dollar to get exactly what they remember. So toys and collectibles is a big key, because what kid usually doesn't have toys growing up?
Right,
So,
exactly.
So
that reminds me, I thought about this category for about a week, and I brought it up to you guys because I've been thinking about it. And I was trying to think of what would be the top category that I'd want to sell in, and how I would go about that, and it would bring me joy when I did that. So I could go for the easy money. Like if I had Apple iPhones, if I went and sourced Apple iPhones all day, I would have a very 100% sell-through rate. I wouldn't have to worry about it, but the risk is higher because you could get a locked one, or somebody could scam you, or whatever. So I don't think I'd want to sell in the Apple category, Macintosh, and all that stuff. So I choose video games for one of my top selling categories, and part of that was what Alden was talking about. Is I grew up with it. I love the Nintendo. I love the old. I had an Atari growing up. My parents brought home the Atari, and I was excited, and I saved my money and got an original Nintendo and Zelda and all that stuff. So, but I love selling all the video games. I love bringing them, testing them, playing them, and then sending them out to somebody else that enjoys. And there is a high sell-through rate with that. Now, is it the best category? It's a lot of work, I would think, compared to other categories, because you have to test them, you have to clean them. If they're scratched or dirty, I have a disc cleaner, so I could clean them, and then I have to package them right to send them out there. So, and then I guess my second category would be more of the clothing. I just got into clothing this year, thanks to Brian and to the other people that influenced me in this group. And I've been enjoying that too, but I used to hate selling clothing, but it's readily available. So I got into that. I love selling hats too. I've been collecting a lot of sports hats, and Alton mentioned Whatnot, and I'm going to be selling some hats on Whatnot here pretty quick. So yeah, it's hard to say what the best category would be for you. Everybody has to choose that. So you have to do some research, take 6 months to a year, see what you like to sell. If it's golf clubs, go sell golf clubs. If it's suits or jackets or single stitch t-shirts, you go research that, and you can go see if you enjoy doing that. But I think a lot of it depends on if you enjoy doing it, because eBay is, for most of us, is a hobby or a full-time job. So anywhere in between, you have to decide what your comfort level is and how you would go about selling that and listing it and taking it to the next level. So that's my choice.
All right. I like that. And to kind of use that as a transition, I think when I look at it, I kind of look at it from a macro level, to figure out what category or niches are best for you. First of all, it kind of depends on your goals, right? Like no two resellers' goals are the same. Like they could all be different. So number one, you got to figure out, like, what is your goal monetarily, or why are you reselling? Because that's going to dictate a lot of this. Once you have that figured out, for example, if your goal is to make $1 million a year, that's going to dictate a lot of things. Then what is the model that you're looking for? If you're want to run a smaller eBay store with a high turnover rate, and maybe you're trying to do a full-time living, well, maybe you're listing 20 to 30 items a day that sell for $30 plus with a good sell-through. So that's going to dictate the categories you want to sell in as well. And related to that is space, right? If you are in a small apartment and you don't have a lot of storage, well, there's no way that you can, say, resell shoes at volume, because you're not going to have the inventory space. In that case, maybe you do need to look into sports cards or coins or something that are smaller and that don't take up a lot of space. And then the next thing you got to factor in is your geography or your location, because what I have access to here in Texas is going to be different than Scott or Alton, who live in different parts of the country. Like I could not like Greg. I saw Rocky Mountain Resell. Like there's no way I could create an eBay store focused just on mountain brands, because I don't have as many mountain brands where Greg could do that. So you have to be aware of all of these things while you're kind of thinking about it. And then another aspect that you need to look at is if you're trying to scale, which kind of brings up those other things I was talking about, like I'm trying to do, you need to have an abundance of inventory that you can have access to. And for all these different reasons, like for me, I do want to scale. I do want to grow the business, and I do have like storage space here is relatively cheap. So like right now I've got 3 storage units to house my inventory. Plus I'm working out of my garage, so I've pretty good amount of space. So factoring all that in, and like what Scott mentioned, clothing, like, and here's one more caveat before I dig into this. I don't think you can rush this process. Like I would recommend you take a year to look at everything, and to try to resell different things, because you may not know what you like to sell and or what is available to you until you go to different thrift stores and flea markets and garage sales in your area. And if you get a VCR and you see that, wow, this thing sells for $100, I picked up for 5, that's great. But do you have the space and to test that? And are you willing to spend the time to package that? And do you have all the different boxes? Like if you're being an everything seller like I was for the first probably couple of years, then you've got to be able to do all of that. Where I'm at right now, I have moved to clothing and shoes, mostly pre-owned clothing and shoes, because there's an abundance of it. It's cheap. It has a relatively high ASP versus the cost of goods that I'm spending on it. And I have a lot of access to it, and I have plenty of storage space. And what it does is it allows me to list more and more of it each week, because I know when I get to the point where I'm listing 100 pieces of clothing and shoes per day, I'm going to be making buku bucks. And at that point, maybe I have a small warehouse. So you've got to think about all of these things when you're talking about the categories and niches. And one of the values of focusing, and I've always preached after you spend a year, is to niche down, is because there's no way, you got to drink deep of the well. You cannot become a master, an expert in every single category. There's no way. And you could make a full-time living selling a little bit of everything, and that is, interesting, but it also takes a lot of mental power, a lot of mental energy to research, to ship, to deal with all that. Like what I found now that I just do clothing and shoes is, hey, Veronica and Val, thanks for joining us. My daughter Veronica in the chat, and Val, thanks for dropping by. Is that it's easier for me because I'm selling some of the same brands over and over again. Like if you look at my what sold videos, you'll see like recurring themes. Like there's Levi's and American Eagle and Ariat boots that sell for good profit. And when I get those in, it's so easy to create a listing when I sell similar off of a listing I already have in my store. All I got to do is upload the pictures, change a couple of keywords, and boom, that listing is up. And that's kind of the secret sauce to allow yourself to list a lot. Like, I don't think I'd list a lot per day. I'm only at 31, but a year ago, I was doing 10 or less per day. And by the end of this coming year, I hope to be at 50 or 60 per day. So I know I'm talking a lot here. So just to recap that, to summarize that, there's a lot that goes into it. Take the time, resell everything, and think about all those factors that I talked about, then niche down, become an expert in it, and you can really grow your business.
The other thing to think about when you're thinking of a category to sell in is your shipping cost. If you're selling automotive parts, that shipping cost is going to be outrageous.
Absolutely.
If you sell, weights for working out, unless you throw it all into a flat rate box, it's going to cost you a lot to ship that across the country, especially from California. And it seems like all my stuff goes to Florida. So,
well, I think with that, kind of what you mentioned with shipping also is, I think sometimes the deal when you buy it, right, whether you ship it or not, you kind of know what it's going to cost to ship it. I think being multi-platformed in some things, and I know even Brian does this, if it's not worth to ship it, maybe it's a Facebook marketplace pickup deal. Maybe you can make the quick money to help you boost your business without even worrying about shipping it. Just have someone pick it up at your house. Like, let them do the heavy work. Once you get it to your house, let them handle it from there. So I think it's all about perspective of looking for what fits your model, and how fast you're wanting to turn your dollar over. And I think shipping is a big factor into whether you can go big or go home. Like most people can't handle even picking up stuff like that. You got to think about new resellers who might be doing this, might be in the later half of their life just doing it for side income. I wouldn't want them carrying hundreds and hundreds of pounds of weights. It's not beneficial for them.
And I was watching a fellow YouTuber last night, and he sells plush. And I was going through his what sold videos, and he's like, "Yeah, I held on to this for a year, and it's sold, and I have no problem doing that." Well, that's great if you have the space, like Brian was saying. So if you have the space and you want to do that, more power to you.
Right.
Each individual has to choose that on their own. Whether if you're selling like jewelry, which you could get a lot of money for, and it's very easy to ship because it's usually going first class unless you're selling gold bars or something like that. But it's you have to do what's right for you and right for your business. So
absolutely. I think one of the things that kind of is probably an even category to even consider getting into, and it does really well, is sporting goods. So like if somebody wants to talk about getting into a solid category without having extremely high sales, but having a good steady amount of sales based on the season, there's enough sports throughout the seasons you can kind of niche down into sporting goods. You got your baseball season in the spring, you got, even all different things. We got football in the fall, even basketball gear, tennis shoes, things like that could be for the winter gear. So play it by season, and go from there. So that might be a real good one as well.
But you even books have a season, even selling books on another platform like Amazon or eBay, you have the textbook season and stuff like that. So
exactly.
All stuff you have to consider when you're coming in, and your buy cost. That is huge too. When you can source, like Brian was saying, if you could source it, I can't source boots, I barely see any boots out here in California. So yeah, I'm not going to go be a boot reseller and belt buckles because I barely even see them out here. So,
but that don't mean you won't pick it up in its value.
No, exactly.
But
right.
You can't base your business off of that if you want to niche down like what we're talking about.
Yeah, if I see the Ariat boots that Brian sold today on his what sold video, then I'll pick them up. So,
and all right. Here's a very practical, I guess, tip to that. We talked about this on an earlier podcast episode. Is there's ways to figure out what's selling in your area. Like if you go to eBay, like for example, maybe I put men's in the search bar, and then on the left-hand navigation, I could click on clothing and shoes. Then I click on pre-owned, and then I put a dollar amount based on my model that I'm looking for. Maybe I put $30 and higher, and then I look at solds, and I could scroll. I could even sort it from highest to lowest. And I can see the clothing items, for example, that are selling in my area. But you could do that for any niche, right? If you were selling, say you're selling fishing gear, right? Lures and things of that nature, you could do the same thing. So that's kind of like an advanced tip, an advanced level way that I don't think very many people actually do. And if you did that daily, if you spent 10 minutes of your day every day looking at solds geographically in your area, you put your zip code in. I forgot to put that part. Put your zip code and maybe search within 50 miles and see what's actually selling in your area. Because guess what? If you keep seeing the same things pop up, well, there's obviously a lot of that inventory in your area. Like if Scott does it, he's right. He's probably not going to find a lot of belt buckles, but I bet he finds a lot of Raiders gear and some other things that I'm not going to find. Well, I know he'd rather find Cowboys gear.
I do find that every once in a while. But that's all good points. And then when you're going and looking on eBay, narrow it down, like within 5 miles, and then pull it out to 10 miles, and you can do it. How far you want to go too. So, but there's plenty of categories here I could source. I'm not too jealous of you, Brian.
Yeah, see, Brian being in the clothes, I've not quite got into being jealous of the clothes yet, but it's because I haven't learned that and gained the knowledge. Like it's slowly growing. I'm watching some of the sales, Scott, that you've had, and then I see some of the good solid sales that Brian gets on the regular. Mm-hmm. And that really makes me want to step into it. And I'm gonna get there. I keep saying it every episode, I'll get there, but I got to do it in a process, right? I feel like before I go and make it, I want to make a calculated decision. And I think that's what everyone should do. Before you don't just dive into something, do your research and find the little things that make you comfortable first, and I'm just not comfortable yet with clothes. And also I'm not set up to store it for one. And I don't have a place that I can lay it out other than the floor to take pictures. So I'm not really set up for clothing just yet. So we're working on it.
Well, that's like at the Benz the other day. I'm not a purse seller, but I picked up a Coach purse handbag at the Benz. I picked it up. It was an easy pickup. I was there. I grabbed it, put it in the cart. I paid for a couple bucks and then went on my way. So the education, just picking up that one item, now I know a little bit of what to look for and what I should, what a fake would be or not a fake would be. But I don't sell purses, but I'll still pick it up like you were saying if I see it. So.
Yeah, I'll address Clay real quick. He told me to do what he does, go source, take time to look. Of course, like when I get out. But as we know, I work on my jobs with beyond the resale 60, 70 hours in a week, easy, and editing this podcast. So for me, it's more of I want to take my time and I do the research what Brian did, like showing us the tools of searching what's selling. So when I do get out there, I'm more inclined to understand it immediately. I can learn both ways. I don't have to be hands-on to, I have it in my hands. Is this worth it? I can watch the sales and stuff and learn just as much usually by seeing y'all do it and me grow and learn. So,
well, Alton, you could sit at home and source collectibles on Whatnot or eBay, or Amazon.
I did that on vacation. So,
right. So you could, there's many ways to source too. And you don't have to go out of your house. You could have everything come to you, and that's great. But yeah, there's thank you guys for your input on this category. I really appreciate that. I've been thinking about it, and I didn't even know. I learned something new every day. I didn't even think of automotive being the number one category. So thank you for that, Alton.
Yeah, so I thought that was really neat when I looked it up, and it was like based off demand, right? And I think even like 3 years ago, it was automotive was barely in the top 10 because eBay Motors. They were considering cutting it from the platform for eBay. And if you think about how fast the market can change, I feel like that's how quick we have to be ready to adjust as a seller. In just 3 years, it went from being almost discarded to now being a top category. So it's just amazing to see how fast that stuff changes.
But when you think about automotive and That's a little different than a lot of categories because I'm already thinking like, how are you going to get that inventory? How would you get wholesale auto parts? Like I think there's a barrier to entry there versus like clothing or other niches, which I agree it could be a great category. If somehow crack that.
If you were a mechanic and you could go to the shops and start sourcing from the shops, or you could go to Pick and Pull and start pulling up bumpers or whatever. I know bumpers sell grade in speakers and radios and stuff like that. So
yeah, so growing up in a shop, that I dealt with that part of it. So like for me mentally, I understand exactly why it's number one, because you make the money on the time invested pulling the part, not actually what the part is valued at. So that's where they make their money, is no one wants to go pull that part. So they'll pay extra for it just so they don't have to go do it. So, and that's what these body shops do.
And on a side note, I'm looking for a beater truck cheap. So there's no cheap trucks in California. So if you have one,
no, there ain't nothing around here either.
And we just bought a new to us, it's used, but a new minivan, and that was expensive. That's going to be a little hefty bill each month. So
it's a kick in the teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and in the chat, Val, I know her husband's a mechanic, so I don't know. It makes me think of opportunities. Like as a mechanic, your husband probably has access to auto parts. I don't know if that's something y'all have looked into, especially as Alton and Scott were talking about how it's the number one category on eBay. That could be a little side business possibly for y'all.
Well, I mean, if him being a mechanic as well, like he would know quickly of what parts typically break more often, right? You kind of have to float that balance of what is more needed, but also being able to test it and have the knowledge to ensure that it's working and things like that. So having someone who is well not trained and in the knowledge, that's where you can make a lot of big jumps in that department. So,
right. All right. Good deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess at this point we can go ahead and transition since we've covered categories, I think, fairly well. Let's go ahead and transition to our sales of the week. Is anybody ready to?
Well, unfortunately, because I've technically just come back from vacation.
Wow.
I took an extended amount of time. I'm actually waiting for taking X amount of time off for my stuff to kick back in for sales. So I unfortunately don't have a single sale this week, but I'm okay with that because sometimes we need that break. And as we were discussing before the show, so I'm just enjoying the break, letting things start rolling and get back in the process. So we'll have more sales next week.
Very good. All right, I'm ready then. Let me
pull yours on up over here.
Let's see. Share screen.
Val said they were out of her comfort zone when he gave her some parts to sell.
Right. Here we go.
Yeah, I think I would be like really pushing that if my wife was a mechanic, I'd be like, all right, we gotta make this happen.
There you go. Let's see. All right, I have my screen up there. So,
well, while you pull that up real quick, Brady asked a pretty good question. Do you think having 3 or 4 niches is okay? I'm gonna say yes, but as you grow, I think Brian's gonna be the advocate that you want to even dive down even lower. But as you grow as a reseller, if you're still young into it, I think 3 to 4 different areas to expand your knowledge is not a bad idea at all. So,
well, for me to chime in, Brady, I guess it depends on what your goal is. Like it depends, right? But if you're trying to grow as big of a business as possible, and here's another factor that I didn't even bring up, but currently eBay is, let me take that down. eBay is really pushing repeat buyers and seller stores. And if you're an everything seller, there's nothing wrong with that, but you're not going to get the repeat customers but like me, for example, because I sell a lot of Levi's and Western shirts and different things, somebody comes to my store and gets a good deal, they're probably, especially because I'm also using the coupons to my repeat buyers. I'm implementing these tools that eBay allows me. I've noticed that my repeat buyer percentage is slowly growing. And over time, that's like a hack into the eBay system because most people go onto eBay and they search for something, they buy it, and that used to be it. But eBay is now focusing what they call a quality buyer. And I think the only way to truly take advantage of that is to niche down. So if like me, if you niche down to clothing, or even you could even niche down even further, you could do nothing but jeans, you could do nothing but men's Levi's. But for me, doing men's clothing, women's jeans, and shoes is niched down enough, and I think that is the best way to scale and grow your business personally.
good deal. Now, I think that you hit nail on the head was that he's asking for 3 or 4 niches, but those 3 or 4 niches could be inside that really big niche. So it just depends on your perspective of what you're wanting to sell exactly, and what you want out of it. So
Try this again.
All right. Take 2.
Take 2. There you go. All right. I picked these up for old PS5s. They were not working. The Wi-Fi cards were bad in all of them. But I bought them for $5 a piece, so $25 into the 5 of these, and sold these for $125. Didn't do anything with them. Just took a couple pictures and sent them on their way. So that was my sell of the week.
heck yeah.
So and they paid shipping on there. So thank God for UPS. I think that went out home delivery, FedEx home delivery. So
Let's hope it gets there.
It did, and
Okay.
No positive feedback yet. Just like the time has passed for the Louis Vuitton Supreme hoodie, that's
Right.
passed. But yeah, no comments, no feedback yet. But it got there safe and sound. So
That's good because FedEx is bad for losing packages.
they are, and I'm we had that happen. That's another side note, but we had a big package that got missing in Southern California for weeks and had to reship it. So
That's crazy.
Yeah,
What you got, Brian?
All right, and let me just respond to Clay real quick. And I'm not telling anyone how to run their business. I am always opinionated, and sometimes that causes a little bit of drama. But and that's true. Like if you get your low cost of goods and big returns, that's great. But you're gonna be capped. Like you just can't sell so many different things and have the space, and like you can make good money, but you just can't scale that. Like your inventory, like behind me, and I'll make a video on this. Like I've switched to this inventory system, these 30 by 8 by 8 boxes with an SKU number, and all, whether it's a shoe or clothing, they all go in a poly bag and they line up like a file cabinet, one after the other. And I got this from Chris, aka Daily Refinement. And so my inventory system is all standardized. That makes that very quick and easy. And when I'm pulling orders in the morning, it's very quick and easy to pull these. Now, and I've been at everything seller. If I sold a VCR, it might take me 15 minutes to pack that. And then I sold some plates. Well, heck, there's another 15 or 20 minutes if I have the box on hand. And then I got to pack a sweater. Like, man, I'm already tired just thinking about that. Like I've done that. So no, thank you. You can make good money, absolutely 100%. But you cannot you can't run $1 million business like that.
And you also can't make TikTok videos with what Brian's is doing. So he can be an
Instagram, true too.
Instagram star.
You can't flex selling a whole bunch of American Eagle jeans and Levi's. Nobody cares. They don't care if you're making hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. That's true. So I guess it depends on what your goals are. And I want to collect dollars in the bank account and not likes on Instagram. So
see, I think that's where you stand apart, Brian, is you made it. You had a flex on our last, I think it was our 2 episodes ago last episode where you kind of showed and talk about on one of your videos what you made for the year. That was your flex without having to be an Instagram flex.
Yep.
Your model is proof in the mix right there that it works. So for someone to say that it don't, yours works. Your model works that you're using, but I think everyone has their own way of doing it, so.
Yeah, and to push back one more second, I'm push back against my good friend Clay, who says most people don't care about making $1 million a year, but that kind of goes against what you just said. You just said how she makes so much money. So on one hand, you're saying, oh, she does so well, but then when I compare that to even bigger scales, then you're saying no one cares. So I don't think you can't have your cake and eat it too. You either do care about making a lot of money or you don't. But hey, everybody's free to run their business as they see fit, as Tech and Sports would say. And I'm about to flex on a pair of shoes here.
There you go.
And we love you, Clay.
Oh yeah, Clay and I we push back and forth. And it's fine. Sometimes he gets a little confused there. It's okay. Oh, and yeah, some people don't. You're right. You're absolutely right, Clay. A lot of people don't want to work that much.
Right.
That's absolutely correct. But if you do if you do have the desire to work and you do want to become efficient, you can make a whole lot of money and still have lots of time off. It's all about efficiency. All right, but anyway, let's look at my sell of the week. Greg, if you're still out there, Rocky Mountain Reseller. Sometimes he's a sourcer for me, and I pay him for items, usually shoes. And I think, Greg, if you're still there, this is one that he sent me. So let me share my screen. Okay. All right, is that showing?
Yep, you're good.
All right. Well, actually, you see, these are the sales from last week. By the way, if you go into your eBay orders, you can sort custom by last week. You can see I had over $3,600 in sales in used clothing and shoes. And my top 2 sales last week were both shoes. And in 2022, I am going to be focusing, like right now, I'm doing 30 clothes per day. And by the end of the year, I'd like to also be doing 30 shoes and 30 clothes. I can't handle that right now, but hopefully by the end of the year, I'm there. But anyway, these with shipping sold for like 250 something and change. One of my highest dollar shoe sales that I can remember. And I don't even know if I'm going to know how to pronounce this correctly. These are Gorsuch hiker boots. These are women's. European size 40 converts to a US size 9. They have fur wool lined with a Vibram sole and a leather buckle. I looked these up and knew these go for like $600, $700, $800. And there's a couple of things to look for here. First of all, any type of hiking boot, if I'm unfamiliar with it, I'm going to check it out, because hiking boots in general are one of the better sub niches that I sell. And another thing, when you see Vibram, that often is a good sign. And when you see this 40, that means it's that's a European size. And so I was unfamiliar with this brand. I had never came across it in the wild, but I looked it up, did a little bit of research, and I saw what they were selling for new. And I think I looked on Terapeak, and I listed these. These probably were listed for about 3 months, and they sold for $250 and change. And so that's my sell of the week. Clothing, and I love shoes.
Nice. I love that sell.
Now, I know that was a great sales there, Brian. Brady had one last question before we close it out, and I think this is kind of what we kind of discussed a little bit when I was kind of talking about some of the things I had found and listened to for my own podcast and personal time. He says, do you have to like what you're selling? I would say no, because I actually was listening to, I don't know if anybody knows Grant Cardone. He made a comment, and he said, I dare you to get great at something that you hate doing, because then once you know that, imagine what you're going to do when you love doing it. Like the success you're going to have, because if you're that great at something you hate, think about it. Like, I think that's a beautiful thing. If you think about it, if you're willing to put that time and learn, you can do anything you want to do. So do I want you to like what you're selling? Absolutely. But we're resellers. We come across everything. And if it's going to make us money, do we have to like it 100% of the time? I'm going to say no, because I'm going to get into clothing and I'm not going to like it, but I'm going to do it because it's going to make money. So you just got what you want more, money or nothing.
Absolutely. And I'm going to kind of echo Alton and kind of not repeat, but just piggyback off of that. You do not have to like what you sell. I never grew up dreaming of being a used jeans reseller, a used shoe reseller. But you know what? At the end of the day, the most important thing for me is like, I have a big vision. Like, you have to have a why. Like Clay's talking about $1 million. Well, I have a goal for that. It's because my wife is teaching and she's unhappy teaching, and teaching's really hard. So within 2 years, I want to make enough money where she doesn't have to teach. She can come help me part-time in the business. I have 4 kids. I have a lot of responsibilities. So, I mean, you're right. I could sell things I enjoy, but to me, at the end of the day, you know what is fun? Looking at your bank account as it's going up. What is fun is watching, and I'm not saying money is everything by any stretch, but if you set a goal, to me it's like a game. You set a goal and you're working towards it. That's fun. When you're shipping out 30, 40, 50 packages or more in a day, that's fun. What's not fun is what I used to do, listing everything, and my sales were low. I was stressed out if I was going to make enough money. That's not fun. So
Right.
Brady, I don't think you have to like what you're selling. If you like, kind of like what Alton said, if you find something that you do enjoy, then that's a bonus. And I will say this, like I do enjoy selling shoes more than I enjoy selling clothing. And but here's the thing, there's more clothes out there than there are shoes. So if I gave up on clothes and just went into shoes, I probably overall would drop a little bit in money, but I can add shoes on top of the clothing.
Right.
What do you think about that, Scott? Do you have to enjoy what you're selling?
I don't think you have to enjoy what you're selling, but I do think you have to have a little bit of focus. Going into any thrift store or going into any store, they want to distract you as soon as you walk in. They got all these bright lights and crazy things you could buy right when you walk, like chips. Like I walked into Walmart, and right off to the left of me was chips, and on the right of me was cookies and cakes and stuff like that. And I'm in there just to get some milk, It's like I don't want to be distracted. Even when you go into a thrift store, you want to go to your certain categories that you want to source from. So if that's video games, you go to the video game section. If that's clothes, you go to the clothes section. You're not going to head over to the plush section and look at plushes all day long if you're a clothes reseller. So
exactly,
I think there is focus that resellers don't have sometimes. I see it on many channels, other YouTube channels, where they're selling everything, and you're going through their sales, and I'm like, oh my God, this is a record. And then he's selling a shirt here, and he's just selling a whole bunch of different things. And I'm like, what? There's no rhyme or reason. So do you go to every part of the store when you walk in? No, I just go into certain sections so I know what I'm sourcing. So
absolutely.
Yeah, well said, as Val noted, Scott.
Thanks, Val.
Yeah, so, and I think Veronica in the chat, who is not my daughter, by the way, I just saw Veronica, and I thought that is one of my daughter's names. In a 9 to 5 in any job, you're not going to like everything you do, or it's very well. I mean, even if like I know Scott's big into sports. I used to coach a lot. I like sports also, and I know Alton does as well. Even if you got your dream job, if you were in the NFL or the NBA, guess what? There's parts of practice or maybe interviews or different things that those guys don't even like. So no job is 100% perfect. But what this is one of the things I'll say about reselling is it gives you you're able to become your own boss, and whatever model you want to follow, whatever goal you want to set, whatever category or niche you want to sell in, you can decide that. That's the beauty of it. And if you want to work 2, 3, 4 hours a day and your lifestyle can accommodate that, and then you want to spend the rest of the day, watching Survivor, or whatever, then that's fine. But at the same time, if you also want to try to build a $1 million business, you can also do that. So reselling is a blessing to a lot of people.
Ask Antonio Brown if he likes the NFL right now in his job. He just got cut by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Well, I don't think his coach is going to like it either, because from what I'm hearing about, it's going to be juicy.
Yep. So there you go. That's not everybody loves their job, but you definitely have to like what you're doing.
Look at the comment on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Craig is in the house.
Yeah. This has been an eventful topic. I think we went deep into this topic
we
more
did.
than I expected.
This was supposed to be short. So
yeah.
I think that does it though, right?
Absolutely. Like, hopefully our listeners will get some valuable information out of that, because I think we all brought something a little different on that one and a perspective that's unique. So
And we do appreciate the live audience, all the comments and questions and interaction. We appreciate it. Don't forget to smash the like button,
And also, can
subscribe
you
to
tell us
Texas
where you
Treasure.
can find us next
Yeah,
week?
so we are officially. It was my mistake. It was supposed to happen on this
Say that
show
again?
tonight. It was my mistake. I'll
Yeah, all
say
right.
it again. Okay.
All right.
We were supposed to be live on the Reseller Roundtable YouTube channel, but with me being on vacation, I forgot in StreamYard to activate the live, and it takes 24 to 48 hours for it to activate. So when I went today to go do it, I was like, oh crap. So we'll be there next week. Everything will be going live from the Reseller Roundtable, and until then, you can still catch us on like Spotify and iTunes, and hopefully within the next week, we'll be all caught up on all platforms. So
we accept your apology, Alton.
I'm glad. Thank you.
So above always, glad you could catch us. You can watch the replay shortly, and as Alton was saying, you can catch us on Spotify and other podcast places to get all this content. I think tonight was a good episode. Obviously, there's a lot of opinions and a lot of thoughts on this topic. By the way, I did just create a Facebook group you can find. It's called the Reseller Roundtable, where we'll also be linking videos and information, trying to tie in to our podcast and the YouTube channel. So check it out also if you can. All right. Well, thanks everyone once again for coming out.
Next week, same time, same place. Not same place though.
Same time.
New place, the Reseller Roundtable YouTube.
Yep.
All right. Everybody have a good night, and niche down and find your category.
Yeah, I like that.